Vegas turns day into night and a Saturday under lights into a Sunday footy showstopper.
Oh, what a beauty! That was magnificent. Here we go.
Sunday footy will never be the same again.
Hello, I'm Paul Barry. Welcome to Media Watch. And in case you missed it, the NRL went to Vegas and the media went big on the party, with print, radio and TV journos all flying to Sin City to cover the big, bold event. And all the commentators agreed.
This is the most hyped commencement to a premiership season the game has ever seen.
There hasn't been a build-up to an NRL season like this that I can remember.
I really do think that Americans are going to take to rugby league. It's right up their alley.
Nine and News Corp's Fox Sports share the TV rights to league between them, forking out around $400 million a year. And their commentators could not have been more thrilled, with Nine's papers also hyping it up.
It's showtime!
Field of Dreams.
League steps on to the NFL's turf just weeks after Super Bowl.
But amid all the cheering, the editor of the Sydney Morning Herald, Bevan Shields, had a confession to make.
I travelled to Vegas as a guest of the NRL, along with executives from other media companies. The NRL has also assisted with the costs of sending several Herald journalists to be here.
Although Shields assured his readers,
the support has no influence over how we cover the season opener or my views about whether the venture has been worthwhile.
Of course not. But it wasn't just Bevan and journos from Nine who flew in for free to cover the launch, even if the Sydney Morning Herald editor was one of the only ones to disclose the fact. The NRL chartered at least 2 Qantas jets from Sydney and Brisbane and flew players in on Fiji Airways, who sponsored the event. And the planes were packed with happy reporters raring to go, with Nine's Today team, who did pay their way, also G'd up for the party.
Has Danny Widler got up to any mischief yet? There he is, look at him.
He's not the one that you've got to worry about. I know JT landed last night, he's playing golf today. Who knows what he has to do.
It's not clear how many journos got their trip for free or exactly what the NRL paid for. And when we asked the NRL, they ducked for cover. But we do know that the ABC, Nine and 10 News did not accept any freebies, and the teams from AAP and 2GB certainly did, along with the team from Triple M. News Corp ignored our many attempts to ask them. Draw your own conclusions. Well over 30 journalists and commentators from radio, TV and print made the trip over to Vegas, plus plenty of production staff on top. And it looked like all were having a good time. And what did the NRL get out of it? Glowing coverage from every angle, with the News Corp papers, whose friends at Fox Sports will soon have US TV rights as well, matching Nine with headlines like these.
American Beauty.
Greatest show on earth.
Vegas has put us on map.
The Telly and the Courier Mail made it front-page news for 9 days. And the TV coverage was just as positive for the NRL, with the nightly news bulletins riding along with the players and Peter V'landys as excitement mounted ahead of the big event.
Inside the stadium, V'landys was awestruck, his dream becoming a reality.
Quite an experience. Unbelievable experience. It's just, words cannot describe it.
And was anyone knocking it? Well, no, as SEN's Hutchie and Damo observed.
If you don't think that the media, print media and television media and electronic media, opinions are for sale, try and find me a negative story about Vegas from anyone who's remotely on the flight. America's watching us, all eyes on us, NFL scouts are chasing us. V'landys a genius, which he is, by the way. This has been one of the PR masterstrokes of the V'landys era. It's a lot cheaper than buying ads, I'll tell you.
And was it a success? You bet, or so we were told. V'landys let it be known that the measure would be how many Americans watched it at home. And the Telly's Dean Ritchie was thrilled to report it was an all-time TV ratings winner.
A combined average television audience of more than 100,000 Americans watched the NRL's historic doubleheader last weekend.
Not quite up there with the Super Bowl, played in Las Vegas last month, which pulled in 123 million. And those who didn't travel on the NRL tab had a very different view of the triumph, with the Mail reporting.
Shocking TV ratings figures take the gloss off the NRL's big gamble to take footy to Las Vegas.
And The Guardian telling us,
no sugarcoating low figures, says TV ratings expert.
And the verdict from Seven, which has the TV rights to that other popular footy code, the AFL, was also damning.
US TV ratings paint bleak picture for NRL's Vegas round. Over 100,000 Americans immediately turned off when the NRL came on.
But don't panic, it's part of a 5-year plan. And it's not the TV audience the NRL is really after. It's the US betting market, which V'landys has been open about from day one, and which the media seem happy to go along with.
Sport is better with gambling. Is that truly what you believe?
Look, it's entertainment. You don't gamble to win money. You don't do it to become rich. You do it to entertain yourself. Just like you go to a restaurant and you buy a meal, that's entertainment.
Entertainment that currently nets the NRL $50 million a year in Australia for clipping the ticket on every bet made. And that could bring millions more from America if the Vegas venture is a success. But now to another big match and more big biffo, with Meta and the media going head-to-head in an all-out brawl.
Meta to refuse to pay for news.
News ban treats Australia like Zuckers.
Tech tyrant goes to war with Australia.
The tech tyrant is Meta's Mark Zuckerberg, who runs Facebook and Instagram. And the war? Over millions of dollars in revenue from a historic deal in 2021, which saw Facebook reluctantly agree to pay Australian publishers for spreading or using their news. A deal that Mark Zuckerberg says is now dead.
The social media giant delivering the news that it won't be delivering on news anymore. Facebook refusing to renew deals with Australian media worth an estimated $70 million a year.
The decision was hardly a shock. Facebook has been quietly demoting news content on its platform for years. Furious it was forced to pay in the first place. And to add to the insult, it now says users don't care anyway.
We know that people don't come to Facebook for news and political content. News makes up less than 3% of what people around the world see in their Facebook feed, saying that Australian media can still post content on Facebook, but the $1 trillion-plus company won't pay for it.
Facebook will kill off its designated news tab completely in April and will not renew any of its local news deals. And that will leave media outlets short of their most precious commodity, money. As the AFR reported on day one of the war,
the decision deals another damaging blow to media companies such as Seven West Media, Nine Entertainment and News Corp, which have been grappling with a deepening advertising crunch. Those three companies alone would lose up to 9% of their annual net profit after Meta withdraws.
For the ABC, the Facebook deal is believed to be worth around $15 to $20 million, which helped fund more than 50 regional journalists, with the ABC's managing director telling staff,
"The loss of this revenue would create a financial challenge for the ABC. We are deeply disappointed by their decision."
News Corp, though, is far less polite, with headline after headline slamming Meta and its claim that users don't consume news.
Facebook's not a friend.
Meta faces revolt on news.
Meta claims absurd.
And the Australian calling Facebook a greedy digital dictator and saying the decision will
undermine democracy by stifling public awareness of important issues.
We're not sure about that, but when self-interest drives your coverage, the sky is the limit. Which is why News Corp, along with 9, 7 and 10, are demanding the government make Meta pay. And Canberra has the power to do that under the News Bargaining Code by forcing Facebook to negotiate with media companies or face fines of up to $1.5 billion if they refuse. But as Waleed Ali pointed out on the project,
you can't force them to pay for news, though, if they decide not to use it on their website, right? So that's ultimately Facebook's move here.
And that's what's already happened in Canada, where similar attempts to make Meta pay up saw Facebook pull down the shutters and ban all news on its platform. The result? Little or no damage to the company's billions in profits, considerable pain for Canadian news outlets, and a rise in viral, misleading clickbait. With one media academic telling The Guardian,
"A real-world newsless Facebook turns out to be more toxic than I had anticipated."
So, is that where Australia is also heading? Maybe. But first, there'll be a showdown between the government and Meta, with the Prime Minister calling Facebook's decision untenable and the Communications Minister saying it's
an abrogation of responsibility to Australia's news media sector.
And will Facebook end up yielding? We doubt it, but expect them to get hammered in the media, meanwhile, by those who will lose millions if Meta walks away. However, there was one dissenting voice last week. Despite his employer being set to suffer, Crikey's Bernard Keane raised his head above the parapet to call the news bargaining code a
shakedown of the big tech companies at the behest of Australia's corporate media.
Adding,
the shrieks of rage currently coming from the media are like those of gangsters whose rich target has stopped paying protection money.
And you can expect more rage on Wednesday in this Sky News doco.
Bad news. Facebook is ripping off Aussie companies.
It's an absolute insult.
It's time to expose Meta. Tech tyrants, Facebook's war on Australia.
I think that's what the folks at The Australian might call a hit job if it were being broadcast by the ABC. We'll see. And talking of hit jobs brings us to our next story about the exclusive Sydney boys' school that made headlines for a week thanks to this powerful Four Corners.
How do you feel when you go past that place?
The insiders.
It's like lambs to the slaughter, and it needs to stop.
The secrets of Cranbrook.
It's a school that costs up to $46,000 a year, and it's where the likes of billionaires James Packer and Mike Cannon-Brookes once went. But one day after the promo appeared, and 3 days before the full ABC story was aired, the media writers at The Australian were doing their best to rubbish the journalism, declaring,
the ABC is planning a hit job on one of Australia's most prestigious schools, Cranbrook.
A hit job generally meaning an unfair and unethical attack. The Australian quoted concerned parents from a WhatsApp group and the school council president Jeff Lovell, who said the ABC could not be trusted to portray the school in a balanced way. And then we got this anonymous slam dunk.
An insider familiar with the ABC's line of questioning to the single-sex school told The Australian the program was a hit job.
And with that, the hit job claim was up and running, with the Daily Telegraph also running the story under the headline, ABC in hit job on posh school. And soon afterwards, 2GB's Ben Fordham was giving airtime to the school council president to complain about the ABC story, even though he wasn't in it and it still had not been broadcast. And that was packaged up and sold online with the same hit job headline. On Monday, The Australian had more support of Cranbrook and running digs at the ABC's weak material. And by the afternoon, Sky's Chris Kenny was joining in the fun, even though he naturally hadn't seen the programme either.
Familiar theme, familiar program, familiar reporter. We'll see a familiar hit job, no doubt.
No doubt in his mind, at least. And by this stage, reporter Louise Milligan had revealed that the programme was also under legal attack, with what she reckoned was a record 7 legal threats. So, after all that, what did we get? A decent piece of reporting.
Many female staff have left the school, bewildered at their treatment. Investigations have been launched, non-disclosure agreements signed, settlements paid.
I just don't want another female to experience what I've experienced.
Four Corners revealed multiple allegations from former Cranbrook staff of a toxic culture towards women at the elite Sydney boys' school, and new allegations of sexual abuse from a former Cranbrook student who claims they were met with a perplexing lack of action or concern by the headmaster.
The man overseeing all of this has been Nicholas Sampson.
But while the school refused to be interviewed for the programme, it was quick to hit back afterwards. And one of the Australian's media writers was ready to help, giving more space to Cranbrook's defence and more support for the principal. But then, last Friday morning, came a twist.
The headmaster of the exclusive Cranbrook private school at Bellevue Hill has sensationally quit.
Cranbrook's Nicholas Sampson has been forced to resign over a scandal surrounding the alleged conduct of a teacher.
Mr Sampson kept a teacher on staff after discovering he sent sexually explicit emails to a former female student in 2015.
Yes, a sensational dumping prompted by revelations of another serious incident that the headmaster Nicholas Sampson had brushed aside, which had caused Mr Lovell, the school council president, to do a quick 180 and inform parents there had been
an irrevocable breakdown of trust between the headmaster and the school council.
And before long, the crisis at Cranbrook was making headlines everywhere, even in The Australian, where a new team reported
Nicholas Sampson resignation from Cranbrook School a relief.
With a focus on the school's toxic culture, the relief of parents and how the headmaster had to go. And what of the writers at The Australian and Sky News who had trashed the story and either made or encouraged the claim that the Four Corners story was just a hit job? Strangely enough, there was not a peep out of them, and certainly no apology for their hit job on Four Corners. That's all from us for tonight. Don't forget Media Bites on Facebook, YouTube and Instagram. But for now, until next week, goodbye.